This video is actually a fast-forwarded extraction from a project that I was planning on doing later on this year, where we actually examined and explored the various major life passage transits in one's astrology that we all go through the context of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and its many seasons, character arcs, and storylines. But in light of the passing of Michelle Trachtenberg, I have decided to move this particular portion up. The reason for that is twofold. Of course, number one, I want to make sure that I can give my honor to Michelle Trachtenberg for her contribution to the show. This video is dedicated to her, but also because I had always planned to have this topic, the Pluto Square, be looked at through the context of Buffy Season 5, the season where Michelle had her breakout role begin and integrate into the show with the character Dawn. And this is a very powerful and very important time in all of our lives that we go through. And it typically runs from the ages 38 to 44, give or take a little bit of time and space with what's going on with Pluto's ecliptical. But you can usually look at the 38 to 44 age range as the time of the Great Pluto Square. This is not an oft talked about topic in astrology, which I find very interesting because it is not only so much more long-lasting, but it can be so much more of a reality overhaul with constant themes of death and rebirth, resurrection and transformation than any of the more popular Saturn Return or Nodal Return topics bring up, which are also much shorter in their duration and their influence. It is also not lost on me that Michelle Trachtenberg herself was also going through her Pluto Square, as am I at the time of making this video, and pretty much anyone in our age range between the ages of 38 and 44. Michelle herself only being a month younger than me to the day. I do want to say in the beginning, this is, of course, again, a part of an examination of the Pluto Square. I am not going to be doing an analysis of Michelle Trachtenberg's chart, and I am not in any way putting this out there to be a way to look and see or get involved in her personal circumstances or her life leading up to her passing. And I also want to say, of course, that this is going to include spoilers, as we are going to be, of course, looking over an entire story arc of the show. And while the show has been out of syndication for 22 years at the time of me making this video, you have been warned, but you have also had ample opportunity to get cultured. The Pluto Square occurs in our charts when present-day Pluto, in whatever house or whatever area of life he is moving through, forms a very tense and very powerful 90-degree challenging aspect to where Pluto was when we were born, and what house and what area of life Pluto existed when we were born. And what happens during the course of a Pluto Square is we see destruction and rebirth, transformation and transmutation, and replacements coming up over and over and over again throughout the course of our life story. During a Pluto Square, present-day Pluto is tearing down and bringing through the destruction and transmutation process whatever area of our charts he is moving through, while also raising up, like a phoenix from the ashes, whatever area of life or whatever aspects of self Pluto in our natal chart occupies and rules. During this time, we will also have to face challenges with split and inauthentic realities, people, relationships, commitments, work, and culture. We are brought face to face with the reality of what we have created versus who we really are, what was put upon us versus who we really are, what we carry on versus who we really are. And we also have to face off against the embodiment of a future that could be our ultimate destruction should we just power through like nothing's going on, and even encounter villains that are the embodiment of what happens when we let denial, trauma, heartache, or suffering become us and become an extension of it. This is not a transit that challenges us to see how good we are at keeping something going on, or keeping something going forward, or keeping something trucking on the road it came to this point. It is about allowing for the right kinds of destruction and the allowance of what has emerged in our lives during this period to have more space and room to grow and to integrate. Which me should go on living? Now, for those of you who don't know, Buffy is actually a show that has spawned a lot of philosophical talks and discussions all throughout the course of not only its run, but even after. There are college classes analyzing Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all the existentialist appeals that it makes. Mark Field's book, Buffy, Myth, Metaphor, and Morality, is a treasure amongst Buffy fans and philosophers alike. There is a lot to go into with this show, and so if you ever kind of thought of it as probably just another one of those shallow WB shows from the late 90s, early 2000s, get cultured, because things are about to get deep. At the start of Buffy season 5, Buffy is not necessarily feeling like her life is perfect, but she definitely has come to a place where she feels she has arrived at the top of her game. In season 5, Buffy is only barely into her 20s, but what she goes through in season 5 basically is a shitload of life experiences that most people, if they're lucky, don't have to actually face, contemplate, or even consider until their late 30s, early 40s, and if a person's really lucky, sometimes even their early 50s. Throughout seasons 1 through 4, Buffy has been to hell and back, and more or less weathered it fairly well. She has both died and been resurrected once before. She had her boyfriend lose his soul and had to actually eventually fight him to the death. She's been wanted for a murder she didn't commit, had her body stolen and violated by the prodigal slayer Faith, and also her then boyfriend at the time, Riley, was also violated by Faith, expelled from school, suspected for a murder she didn't commit again, all the while fighting off every monster, demon, vampire, warlock, sorceress, and boogeyman that the Hellmouth could ever spit out at her, averting at least 6 apocalypses to this point. Coming into season 5, though, it is revealed over and over again that Buffy is becoming a bit unique. She has outlasted many Slayers. In fact, she is considered unique in the sense that she does actually carry a life on where she has a boyfriend, where she has friends, where she keeps family. Most Slayers in the past were very much solitary hunters, stalkers of the night. Buffy is also shown to be unique not only in the fact that she has been allowing herself to carry on important relationships and be more true to herself and her own needs as a soul, but also at the same time gone through several level up processes, as have the people around her. She works with her friends. She has her watcher Giles. She has magic that she employs through her best friend Willow and Willow's girlfriend Tara. She allows herself to level up through her experiences, but at this point it is also shown that she is not only stronger than humans, she's actually also stronger than vampires, and also most demons that she encounters. So she is again the top of her game. Season 5 shows Buffy as the conditioned adult ego getting her world, her reality, and her function to adapt to the world that she's come up in, but is that enough? Season 5 also explores the concepts of home and feeling at home in the world. What does it mean to be at home in yourself, to live an authentic life, and to actually feel at home, not only in your own body and in your own life, but also carry on relationships and connections that you truly do feel at home in. Buffy moves home to take care of her mother Joyce, who has fallen ill with what is revealed to be later on a brain tumor, to take on the role of being a caretaker and caregiver for an ailing parent, and also stepping it up as the surrogate mother figure and caregiver and caretaker of her sister Dawn. The frailty of her mother's condition and her sickness and eventual revelation of the terminal potential of it begins to destroy Buffy from the inside out. And throughout the course of season 5, Buffy has become more detached, more isolated, notably illustrated in her relationship with Riley. Not truly right fit for her that she started back in season 4. A relationship that kind of just fell in her lap and never really was something that she fell in true love with. The first of several Pluto Square revelations given form.
What are you doing here?
Buffy,
If you're going out, why don't you take your sister?
Mom!
Dawn comes in as a new character in this show, but also at the same time as an analog for Buffy's inner child, Buffy's soul, Buffy's aspect of herself that is most pure and true to who she came into this life with. We could look at this as Buffy's natal Pluto. Dawn is actually not Buffy's sister by birth, but really a product of alchemy. Dawn is originally the key, a divine, pure form of energy with the power to open the gateways between realities. Now, we could look at this also as an opportunity for Buffy to shift her reality from a space that is going through a major erosion, but also into a space where she can fully integrate with a path that still speaks to her soul. Dawn becomes basically the final lifeline she has to her true self, and she says it herself in the final episode of the season. Dawn, as the original Pluto coming back into our lives, reintroduces into our world the us that we wish we could have stayed, the us that we wish we could have preserved, that innocence and that power. Buffy may have become entrenched in her conditioned adult ego, but her true soul, her true self, and in many ways illustrated in an inner child form, shifting, reality twisting, and through eternity. In fact, Dawn is given form because of Buffy's essence. She is made out of the same stuff that Buffy is made of.
She's not mine, is she?
No.
She does belong to us, though.
Yes, she does.
She is both new, but also very old. She is both made up and real. And after Joyce's eventual death, Dawn is the only lifeline Buffy has to who she was before she became the Slayer. Buffy is the conditioned adult ego. Dawn is the truth of her soul.
Long day, sweetie?
The primary villain of season 5 is Glory, a demonic goddess from a hell dimension that was exiled into the earth plane through a coup from her other fellow deities.
From a dimension of unspeakable torment. They feared she would attempt to seize their dimension for herself. She was cast out, banished to this lower plane of existence.
A being that has also endured trauma, heartache, betrayal, abandonment, and loss. Glory seeks the key, because the key opens the gateways between realms. Glory is attempting to bring herself to her own sense of home. In order to do this, Glory must acquire the key, which is now Dawn, and through ritual bloodletting and sacrifice, destroy her in order to open the portal, which will also unleash all manner of hell, pandemonium, and torment on Earth. The conditioned adult ego, now wholly ruined and soulless. And Glory has, for all of her suffering, done superficially okay for herself. She lives a lifestyle which she can easily attain, both through her own inherited opportunity and brute force, but it is all an effort to fill that terminal void. She even has her own minions, worshippers, and overcompensating enablers that either love her or hate her to hold her world up. Whereas she is not Buffy's shadow self, which would be better illustrated by Faith in season 3. She is what could potentially happen to a person if they let themselves become a wholly ruined and obliterated adult spirit. Narcissistic, sociopathic, borderline psychotic, Glory is the avatar of every trauma and battle and heartache Buffy has ever suffered that never had a happy ending. The Pluto Square in its most aggressive form. A ruinous life circumstance that cannot be negotiated with, healed, or withstood. While not canonically a vampire or a blood-drinking vampire like others on the show, Glory could be seen as a violent illustration of what a psychic vampire is and does. In order to restore her mental stability, she must feed on the energies that hold human consciousness in a sound, functional state, leaving her victims psychologically destroyed to reset her own. Throughout the course of season 5, Buffy encounters Glory in physical combat, perhaps more frequently and consistently than any other major villain of the series. Buffy's strength is not only tested, but also foiled. In her first 2 battles with Glory, Buffy is shown where Buffy just does not have the strength to beat her with any of her superpowered, top of her game Slayer might. And the only reason Buffy is able to actually squeak away from Glory in any of these instances is because Glory needs something from her. Now, Buffy has mastered her art as a Slayer, and yet everything that she has mastered is not a match for this enemy. She's not just a demon goddess who intersected with Buffy, but now she's also the ultimate boss battle of the monsters she's been fighting her whole life. And throughout the course of season 5, Buffy, who has been through plenty of her own traumas, is on this constant crucible journey to find a way to go through everything she's been through and everything she's put through and not become a ruined, obliterated adult herself. Taking what small moments of love afforded to her, both new and old, to give herself the solace she needs to carry on. Our Pluto Square experience teaches us that there really is no such thing as stagnation or stasis. There is only movement forward or degradation, and that the illusion of stasis, of stagnation, of pause, is really just the inability to calculate the rate with which something may be going through a stage of flourishing or degradation. Whether it's because of natural causes, environmental circumstances, the scaffolding with which a reality is created, or an overwhelming and impossible to beat enemy, things in life will come to their end, and we get to choose what about us will end with it. Will we die in the fight? Will we destroy our own soul to become a force that can withstand the storms, to do everything we can to maintain our position in the soul-crushing space of the world you're trapped in? And does that even work? And Glory herself is a failed goddess, which is why she is on the path she's on. Even when Buffy is catching her breath, when she is taking a pause, when she is entering a holding pattern, she has to be ready to step back in and face reality. Change is here. And for herself and for her friends and for her sister and for her soul, she needs to lean into that change so that the solutions and the roads and the resources she needs will come to her. Her spirit is tested, but her spirit is the one that needs to be able to accept a different path. If Dawn represents the purity and the innocence of her soul, her spirit is represented by Willow. Willow has become an adept with her witchcraft and her studies of magic, accelerating her evolution of consciousness at a rate that even becomes worrisome to other people around her, not excluding her girlfriend Tara. Tara being the lighter half of the pair. Willow is in a place at season 5 where she is kind of a support role. Her magic has been very helpful, especially when it comes to not only solving tricks, puzzles, riddles, and all kinds of conundrums that can come up so far, but also at the same time has proven to be the only true effective way, or at least has the most promising implications when it comes to defending against Glory in any way, shape, or form. At the point where Buffy's holding pattern is starting to come to its own collapse, Glory has accelerated her hunt of the key and has started to brutally attack everybody around Buffy looking for the key. This is the part of the Pluto Square that is bringing awareness to us of a reality that we have that is actually not only destructive to us, but is also now taking on a bigger region of influence, is creating hell in the life of others as well. We cannot sit and wait it out. We cannot sit around and just wait for something to happen or hope the storm passes. It is starting to expand its region of influence. And once Glory has accelerated her hunt of the key, she targets Tara, breaking her hand and interrogating her to try to find out who the key really is. And when Tara will not fess up, Glory brain sucks her. Even against Buffy's urgings, Willow insists on going back and taking the fight to Glory to get her revenge.
I owe you pain.
Glory can be injured. Willow is the first person to ever inflict any kind of real damage on Glory at all. Beginning not only the final quarter of this season's arc, but also revealing where it is time to simply let go of doing things the way we always have. Following Willow's attack, Glory also discovers the identity of the key and abducts Dawn. Buffy retreats into the recesses of her own consciousness, hiding in her own memories, pleasant memories, memories of her mother and her childhood, but also the downloads that she received regarding her relationship with Dawn. Willow, her spirit, is the one to go in and get her out. Buffy is also faced with a terrible choice. It is revealed that Glory can only perform the ritual at a specific time and place, and that through the bloodletting, she will open the portal that will unleash hell on Earth and send her back to her own dimension. But the only way to close the portal would be to throw Dawn into the portal and to kill Dawn and seal it up. And she must face a decision that is put before her. Do I kill Dawn before the ritual starts so the ritual can't happen at all? Do I kill Dawn once the ritual has started to minimize the damage of the ritual itself? She is not going to give up her soul, her heart, in order to maintain the trajectory that they've been on.
She's me. The monks made her out of me. I hold her, and I feel closer to her than... It's not just the memories, it's physical. Dawn is a part of me. The only part that I...
We'll solve this. We will. Don't have another coma, okay?
The Tower card in the tarot represents a drastic and cataclysmic life direction changing event or series of events that can come on suddenly and alter the trajectories of all involved. It is a time of great turbulence and transition that has profound lasting consequences on an individual and on an environmental level. In short, a way of life is over. Whether by storm of isolated events or a great explosion of activity, one's life course is completely altered. Many fates, many journeys can end and be diverted to new paths, and there is no avoiding it. Gather your things, pack up your toys, and get ready to leave the present, the past, and everything that held them together behind, without the certainty of a tomorrow. Guiding our adult egos to remember the importance of trusting to wonder, faith, and spirit. We cannot change what collapses, but we can decide how. Sometimes the divine lesson is not, how good are you at winning your circumstances or holding your ground, but rather, how wise are you to choose how they collapse for the promise of a brighter dawn? Glory, her enablers, the tower, the apocalypse, and the portal are all forces of destruction that will claim us should we accept them, whatever principles or circumstances committed or condemned us to them. The deteriorating job, the failing business, the collapsing home, entropic life paths, toxic family connections, soul-eroding spaces, soul-sickening relationships. There is no holding ground, working out a way to just sit in the ruin until a slow degradation claims you. You can't weather the storm. You can't obsess over what's been. You can't change the past, and this too must pass. What's done is done, and whatever comes after, it is a matter for the brand new day. Because there is no return or restoration of yesterday. There is no working it out. This isn't a war to hold on. It is a war to decide how it's going to be torn down. We will be the tower. We decide how it's all going to finish falling apart, because it already has. We will build anew when it's over. And we will decide who will make it through the night. The true spark of my soul, the conditioned adult ego built for this reality, or the obliterated adult spirit that would hold us in hell and call it home.
Couldn't understand my pain.
And I'll just have to settle for causing it.
You can't kill me.
No, but my arm's not even tired yet.
Stop it.
You're a god. Make it stop.
The beast is broken, and the ruined adult spirit denied. But the defeat and devastation of a great challenge is not the test of the Pluto Square, just a footnote, an ornament A worshipper of glory manages to scale the tower and begins the ritual, and the portal opens. Pandemonium ensues. The Pluto Square, like the tower card, is not a contest. It is a closure. The portal does not belong to anyone. It is what makes up the world of the imploding career, the toxic connections, the crushing environment, the soul-killing relationships, the timelines and scaffolding of spirit-breaking realities. No matter what challenges are overcome for a time, it is what keeps the door open for more. It all must go. One way or another, it will. Should the portal be closed, so too goes the reality and the roads known until this point, and so much attached to and built on them. This era will end. Should the portal be left open, it will turn all inside out and collapse into hell anyway. This era will end. Dawn, knowing what must be done, attempts to rush herself into the portal to close it for good, killing herself in the process. But she is stopped by Buffy. Dawn knows that until this entire situation is destroyed, completed, the chaos will not stop. Buffy will not let her go. And then the truth of the lesson is made clear. That Dawn and herself are one and the same, made from the same essence, the same source. It does not matter whose blood makes contact with the portal, it will close. Buffy is a slayer, a defender wielding destruction as an instrument of balance. But the Slayer is not the source of her conditioned adult self, forged by the burns of realities that gave rise to the vampires, demons, hellspawns, and failed deities, not only to combat them, but because of them. If she can bring the collapse of a reality that would only bring more hell, she will. Death is her gift. This self was built to face the monsters, not bask in the peace. There is no hesitation in fully pulling apart a creation that is inimical to it. Every part. For Dawn, for the truth of her soul, the spirit she is underneath the blood, dirt, and bruises, the training and the hardening, the grief and the suffering. Dawn is the spark of herself, who comes out and shines when she nurtures her friends, plays, laughs, and falls deepest in love. She is the self chosen to go on living. As with our own death and rebirth cycles, Buffy's death, of course, was only temporary. In her leap from the tower, she chooses the purest essence of herself to preserve, and allow that to live on, to love, nurture, grow, and thrive. If we can do that, move through the changes for what is the highest, truest good of our soul, and what it can be for what we treasure most, regardless of the pressures of our scars and circumstances, we can not only know divinity, but we can make that light, that spark within ourselves, something that creates realities that are far more resilient and fulfilling. The light of dawn that will go on, thriving, with each passing day going forward.